simply means somebody that one can quickly call in terms of emergency, or when you are unable, to act for yourself. That And that is why many times organizations use that next of kin, that just in case anything happens to you, who is that next person that they can call, and that person will respond within that time. If the person goes and use his grandmama in the village, na in wahala, you are just ignorant. You are very, very ignorant. It is the person that is close to you that's, when they snap the finger, the person has shown up. So if you are married, except if you do not trust your wife. But the question is, I know people change, no doubt about that. But
Yeah.
let us just take this ground that this lady has not changed or this man has not changed. Why won't you use that person? And if you want to use your children, make sure that they are above 18, that they can take responsibility for you. Now, where the issue is that, next of kin, so when they want to issue a check, maybe like insurance check, or God forbid, something happens. And I will use this example. When I was still in the bank, I was heading the subsidiary then. Over how many years now? Close to about 15 years and all that. So something happened along the line. This staff of mine, died. And in the course of doing the insurance and all that, he had forgotten
Mm.
to change his beneficiary
Uh-oh.
to his wife. I'm coming to beneficiary. Next of kin was his wife, but beneficiary, he was still using his brother. He forgot to change it. He forgot to change it when he got married. When we now called the wife, I had to appeal to the family that, please, the insurance will not pay the wife
Mm.
because he's not the beneficiary. It's written there, beneficiary. But next of kin is the wife. To appeal that, please consider this woman and the child of your brother. Do you know, at the end of the day, when we investigated, the lady said it was more like they didn't give her anything.
Aye.
It was like change. Let us understand. That's why I said I'm coming from the angle of knowledge today. That when we say next of kin, that is what it means, except if we have bastardized it. And if anybody is listening to us is married, please check. Next of kin, beneficiary. Beneficiary, that, okay, if there's an amount that is due, that is the person they will give it to. They will not give it to the next of kin, except where you say the beneficiary is the next of kin. I want to camp around that I'm coming from the angle of knowledge. And to be honest, a whole lot of things have happened, which I just cited an example.
Yeah.
Any man listening to us now will go check. And any woman listening to us now will go check. If you are in a marriage and you trust and there are children, your beneficiary should be your wife. It's only when you now know, let's face it, when you know that that woman has not shown you mercy, has not shown you love, has not shown you care, and the opposite too, if the man has not shown you, you will see. Then the next thing is that you will use your child if your child is more than 18.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they allow younger ones, or you can put it into a trust account if you are not sure. Because many a times you find out that they will say is their brother, is their wife, and it's true. Many a times they don't take care of them, except that one that God has graced with mercy, with care. Will say, yes, my brother trusted me with his inheritance, and I'm going to use it for his children. But we know how this thing works now. Some of it will enter your own estate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Buki, for that. Ibinabo, over to you. I've given my own background and everything. Please go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, Buki came from a very correct angle. A lot of people do not understand. I hope they would get more understanding from this conversation, because most people readily believe that when you are nominated a next of kin, it automatically means you are that person's beneficiary. It is not. It is not. Even in death, if there is no will, a written will by that person before the person passes on, there are laws in Nigeria that will interpret who should be beneficiary or who are the beneficiaries of the deceased. So some people, even the owners of this, whether estate or whatever it is, they do not understand the full meaning of a next of kin. They readily assume that, you made me a next of kin, so this and that. I've heard of cases where a man chose his brother as his next of kin and his wife and children as his beneficiaries. And eventually it was not planned. I mean, when you write a will, doesn't mean you want to die immediately, but eventually the man passed. And there was this issue, blah, blah, blah. No, he's the next of kin, kiniko, kiniko. In the first place, I said, why would you begin to struggle with the man's wife? When the man was alive, was he not taking care of her and the children? Don't you have your own family? But they all came up and was like, until the woman had to go the legal route. And it was now clearly spelled out to them that being a next of kin does not make you automatically the beneficiary of the deceased. The deceased stated clearly he was a staff of a particular organization. And I think they would fill a form where he stated that his wife should be his beneficiary. And that was what was followed. And they did everything, but the law stood gidigba. You understand? So a lot of people don't know the difference between being a next of kin and being a beneficiary. And in most cases, you see, you talked about how it's always a struggle between men and women, even everywhere when it comes to next of kin, oh no, it's my brother, oh, my wife is not my blood and everything. You see, all this conversation had always been there, but social media brought them to the fore. That is why you will see that in some families, when there are issues, maybe the man is not feeling too well, and the woman is not showing much interest, people will begin to say she's a bad wife. Your husband is sick, you are the kiniko, because she knows something that outsiders do not know. Probably she stumbled on a conversation, or she has overheard somewhere, or she has an idea that this is what her husband has done. Okay, so your wife is there. She has children for you. They bear your name. They carry your surname on. They're not going to carry our own surname. They are carrying, everybody in the house is carrying your surname. And then you now went ahead to put the name of your siblings as this and that. So when you have issues, almost let your siblings sort this thing for you. But people who don't understand will say, she's a bad wife. I've seen such a case too before. So what am I even going to say is that, you see, what is the meaning of getting married to a person you don't even trust? Getting married to a person you can't even trust with your life, with your earnings and everything. Then, who is a hypocrite here? And then our culture is not encouraging. Our culture does not, in some tradition and culture, they don't encourage, it is not enough for a woman, whether you are a daughter or a wife, to inherit anything from a man or from a father. So when you're from such a tribe, I mean, you already know that, except the man is very intentional and deliberate about his tomorrow, and he wants to, ensure the wife and children. Otherwise, leaving everything like that without naming the person who's going to be your beneficiary automatically means that you are leaving everything to your sibling. So we need to be very, very careful. We need to be very intentional. I mean, because if you truly love your children, okay, if you don't even love your wife again, what about your children? Because if you pass, who will take care of these children? Their mother wouldn't abandon them. Then you're going to expose them to suffering, because if she's not financially very independent, how do they feed? How do they go to school and everything? So I feel that if any man who loves his children, even if you don't really love your wife, if you truly, 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 sincerely, from the deepest part of your heart, you love your children, you will always carry their mother along. Except in rare cases where you know that this woman is all about herself, even with her own, doesn't care for her children. If you are singing a different song from that angle, maybe one can give you small understanding. But generally, you are saying because she's a woman, she's not your flesh and blood, then you are bringing in other people to come and oversee your whatever. You are making a very funny mistake, because nobody can care for your children as much as you and their mother. So let's be wise here. Bottom line is, of kin is not a beneficiary. They are two different actually. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Susan, we're coming over to you. Let me say with my full chest, because you are here now, you will defend me. We find that this happens mostly with your brothers and sisters. We see it in the movies, we've seen it in real life. My first encounter with this was when I was at uni. This guy, was Namdi, was that his name? Very fine boy like this. His dad had died, and he didn't even have enough time to grieve. I think we were writing exams then. He had to travel. He had to quickly go because his mom needed him. And I can't remember if he came back to the uni or if he had to stay back with his mom. I don't remember. My memory is really hazy with that one. But that was my first encounter, live encounter, besides what I used to see in the movies. But over time, I've also seen it. And that's why I said this next of kin thing is not just for who you're writing in your will or beneficiary, like Buki had said. It affects every single thing, right? Is it a mindset thing? Is it something in the water that they drink that makes them think that way? That makes them think that the wife is not a family member. And what is appalling for me is that the mom, right, your mother too, obviously your dad did not think that she was a family member, but you see her as your own family member. I think it was Buki that said, if we actually think, we'll realize that this thing is not as hard as we're making it look like. There's a knowledge deficit that is big, because Mr. A is married to Mr. B. They have children, XYZ. But then Mr. A doesn't think that Mrs. B is his wife. But XYZ, the children, believe that their mom is their family member. X then gets married to O, but thinks that O is not his family member, but he sees his mom. You see how confusing it is, and how if they just think a little bit, you realize that it don't used to make sense. But yeah, Buki, over to you. I mean, Susan, over to you.
For me, I agree with you. The bottom line is there is a knowledge deficit. I mean, how else can we even place it? I am from Igbo tribe. I'm an Igbo woman. I'm from Imo State. And where I come from, I am the first daughter.
Yeah.
My mom has 4 girls and 1 boy. The boy is actually our last child. But the truth is, even if my dad has 1 million mansions, blah, 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 it will only go for my baby brother. That is the culture of where I come from. And this is not about telling stories. This is me. Say, at least I'm the eldest child, the eldest daughter. So, in fact, the last time I went, my dad was showing me, any day you hear I have passed, this is where I want you to point that I said I should be buried.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that is how, I am saddled with so many things. But people do not understand. For me, I want to quickly take you back to a few years back. I was a volunteer in the health sector. And when I'm attending to women who come for antenatal, You ask them for next of kin, they will tell me their older child or Omoto Juele Iton Lonyu. And I'm
Mm.
like, so if you come for antenatal and we need to admit you, am I supposed to call this child to bring your bags in? Do you understand? There's a
Yeah.
knowledge deficit. They don't understand what it means. Who can we readily call?
Yeah.
I mean, in case of anything, but they don't understand. They feel, and in my head, I'm wondering, so why did you allow this person impregnate you? If you are not able to put down his name, you people should at least share the burden. Now, why are you putting the name? You think
Yeah.
the hospital wants to give money to the child? Abi? You see, for me,
Hi, Suzanne.
it's of the people you are interacting with. Can you hear me? The mindset of the people you are interacting with.
Yeah.
Are they knowledgeable
Yes.
to know? You understand? To understand. I just feel that if you don't believe and trust in this person, why do you sleep and wake up with the person? It's not hard. It is just we that are making it complicated, complex, bringing in your brother, your sister, your blah, blah, blah. And that is why when such people pass, there is chaos in that family.
Chaos. So
Those people will infiltrate. Those people will infiltrate and frustrate your wife. Not be say you don't too get something, but they will still come in and make life a living hell for the poor
yeah.
woman. Let's say it as it is. So again, you talked about, the way we treat our wives, and you can also treat your wife well. And because you are also treating, I was discussing with my friend who came to visit me the day before yesterday, before going back to Ibadan, and we're talking about it. He says, oh, I like to give money, I like to support my family members. And I'm like, when you marry now, you know, your family member say, oh, he's no longer giving us money the way he used to. He has married a bad wife, kiniko, kiniko. That is where, you see, the complications begin. So already, your husband loves you, but his family members see you as someone who has restrained them from getting all the goodies. Like, no, I would have told them. I said, but when you are not there to defend her, who speaks for her? These are some of the things that I also think that these men need to clearly state it, because working in the gender space, seeing what widows go through is mind-blowing for me.
Yeah.
It is only in this country that I have found out that for every man that passes, the woman is involved.
Yeah.
But for the men who pass, for me,
The woman is
the husband, the widower is innocent.
innocent.
So if you also look at all of these things, we need to state clearly and make, if you need to call a family meeting, my sister, let's not speak good, long grammar, because some of the people do not hear long grammar. Call a family meeting, state it, because my dad will say, what I have used my mouth to say, now that I am not sick, no part of my body is paining me. Before you will say I was cajoled under duress, because our people know how to
Yeah. Hi, Susan. We can't hear you anymore. Or is it just me? Can we hear Susan?
complicate and my coming to frustrate
Okay, she's back.
most times. It is also the, can you hear me? It is also the sisters in some of these families that come out to frustrate their sister-in-law. So we also need to state these things clearly and have an honest conversation, a roundtable discussion before anything goes south. Me, I am not married, but if you are going to marry me, brother, let us Sonny Bangba. I do not have strength for Wala. Let me allow the women who have raised their hands to talk. Thank you.
I can see that we never had this. Oh, before you go ahead, this is still Women Radio 91.7 FM, the voice of women, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. This is HerLens, and we've been speaking about, well, is your wife your next of kin, or is your husband your next of kin? That's pretty much the question. If your wife is not your next of kin, why? Can we know the reason? If your husband is not your next of kin, why? Can we know the reason? We want to know. This is, we're not trying to attack. We want to understand the thought process that you have by making somebody else besides your your spouse, your next of kin? Is it a case of, okay, my brother is my next of kin, but my wife is also something? Like, what is it? Do you believe that your wife is your family member or not? Those are the questions that we have for you this morning. The ladies are here, Ibn Abba, Susan, and Buki. I'm here as well, having fun with the ladies on this particular. It's not a funny conversation, it's very, very serious, but I'm just having fun because if I really say what's in my mind, yeah. Ibn Abba, over to you.
Okay, so what I just want to add is that we're not going to excuse what's it called now? Cultural activities, cultural influence, the influence of culture in all of this, because traditionally in some families or in some tribes and all that, they hold to the highest esteem a male child, whether you are the last born or the first or the middle or whatever, and that a huge influence on what we see play in various homes when it comes to next of kin. It is until we begin to address some of the unfriendly aspects of our culture, we will keep talking about this thing. There are so many things that are very unkind in terms of our tradition, culture, or our practice. I think they are clearly against the woman, the girl child. If you look at some aspects of the culture, the part that are the ugliest are always the ones affecting the girl child or the woman. And I think it's a huge influence on all of this decision. A young man who grew up in a family where the boy child is held to the highest esteem, he's not going to marry and then begin to make his wife this and that, except there is a mind shift, except there's he's been exposed to a better understanding of what a next of kin, what a beneficiary is, and the responsibility of a man and the place of his wife in his life and in the family. If he doesn't have an idea, if he's not, if he doesn't have a change of mind and he doesn't have other, information coming into his space, he wouldn't know. A lot of, as educated as my mother, there was a conversation that I know they hide my mind. When she was talking to my my brother, one of my brothers, I'm older than him, but he's the older brother to the younger one. She was talking about my father's, estate, and she was talking about him being kiniko. In my mind, I was already pissed. And I'm talking about so many years ago. The boy was even a boy then, So I was like, oh, so what are we? What are we? What
am I a stone?
What are we? And she tried to explain. I told her straight up. I said, if I'm not part of my father's estate, I'm not going to be a beneficiary. If somebody I'm older than is going to be the one in charge, then I'm not going to have time for anybody.
Yeah.
Very clear. And I made her to see, and she was trying to explain. I said, see, that is culture. You have a right to do your own thing. Nobody got these things for my dad. He worked hard and acquired all of this. So he has but he died without really, he had a will, but it was not very, those scanty things. There was nothing cogent. And I made her to understand that. And she, for my wife to see it in me, that I wasn't responding to anything from them. Like, please, go and talk to your sons. You understand? And call for a meeting, a close family meeting within, and she explained that no, it's not that she meant that it would be this and that, but she was just trying to make him understand that you are the first son of the family. There are certain expectations and this and that. Just trying to advise him and everything. Advise him properly. Don't advise him in a way that he will feel that, that kind of a thing. And she got the message, and like magic, she made amends with immediacy. So you see, there are times that no matter your level of education, there is a place of culture in what you are doing, and it will affect some of your decisions.
Yeah.
But maybe you're just following culture, you're just trying to play to everybody's, how they perceive things and everything. If there are voices that will say, no, do like this, then I'll create my own culture too. there will be a change. So
Yeah.
in families, mothers should begin to speak up. Mothers should let us understand that I am in your father's house. I have, if my father did not acknowledge me as his family member, it doesn't mean you will get married and not acknowledge your wife.
Yeah.
Women should become bold to make such statements. Stop making it look as if, after all, in your father's house, I was not acknowledged as part of the family. So when you marry, the same thing must go on. Is it good? Were you happy about it? Did you like the way you were
Yeah.
marginalized? If you don't like it, then you don't allow it to continue. You let it stop with you and make sure that your son will do better. Not that because you did not enjoy your husband, so your daughters-in-law should not enjoy your husbands or your sons. It's not fair. We need to begin to have this shift in our mindset. I mean, life is, sharp, sharp. Something things happen. So don't think that you're going to be there forever. So let's begin to talk to our boys, let them understand that yes, it will be a cultural practice, but it is not fair on the woman or on the girl child. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ibina, because that's where I was headed. I wanted to ask that same question. Wiki, um, do you think that because what Ibn Abbas said in terms of we training our boys, training if boy moms right about now, or even if you have brothers, you begin to train them and reorient their mind, reorient their mind that this is not the way, right? But then do you also think that we as women have accepted it? Is it a case of we accepting it because we think we have no choice, or we just accepted it? That's because if it's a case of we accepted it because it's the culture, how do we then begin to get our power back? Because like Ibn Abbas said, imagine that you are not the first born, you're not the second born, right? And then you're the one that they are saying should be in charge of the funeral. Same with what Susan said. If anything happens now, it's her youngest brother. That's and Susan is the first one. She has other ones in between. Someone that should be even calling her mommy, right? Is it that we've accepted because it's tradition? I'll give an example. Somebody that I know lost her sister in April. They should have buried her early on, but they couldn't because she was supposed to be buried in the compound. She and her husband that built house. But apparently, according to tradition, because she did not have a boy, she cannot be buried in the compound. But if she had a boy, then the boy will buy her. But something. It's just one long story. And I was like, hold on a minute. Your mom is not a small person, right? I was talking to her niece this time. I was like, I'm not a small person now. What do you mean that you have to wait how many? She can't be buried in the compound. I said, how many years were your parents married? She said 33 years. I said, so how come? So we see how these things have infiltrated everything in society, right? So I asked her, I said, what did your dad do about it? She said, he tried to fight now, but the fight, enough he fights. So is it a case of we have accepted it because these traditions where people, maybe some of these are because they were trying to make peace. People are the ones that came up with these traditions and cultures. Do we need to start fighting back for it to change, or are we also culpable in accepting these things?
All right, thank you. I will start by saying that we should know Nigeria is part of the nation that they say is a patriarchal nation.
Yeah.
It's a patriarchal
How did I
society.
forget that?
You
Yeah.
understand? This is where we know, we believe, we have accepted it. Whatever we have, that men hold power, they hold authority. Even if you are a boy, you are not even married in a family, just like what Susan said, yeah, and all that. It has become something that we are passing, to our next generation. They have
Yeah.
passed it to us.
Yeah.
They have passed it to us, and we are also passing. Except where you now have a different mindset, which has to come even from the parents. For instance, now in my own family, my first child is a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Then we now have the twins. But when it comes to decisioning, I call her first because I know better. Because I know better. But in some families, because of what they know, they will call the boy. Yes, all of them are above 18.
Yeah.
You understand? But
Uh-huh.
because I know better, I mean, for me, I understand that where men, where men are supposed to be seen as the head is
Yeah.
only when we have a marriage institution. It's only when we have a marriage institution, then we can now say the man is the leader. I'm not saying the man is the master. There's no master slave here. Somebody has to head, somebody has to give direction, somebody has to set the vision. But outside of that, hey, you give respect to whom respect is due.
Yeah.
So it's because our society is patriarchal in nature, and our culture, from one culture to another culture, we feel, oh, it is the male that should be called to take decisions, to do this. Have you not seen some families that even when the male is there, the male does not have money, but the woman, it is the girl that has money.
Yeah.
They naturally it is they will flow with the lady, with the girl that has money.
Yeah.
So things are changing now, but those who still hold on to values, those who still hold on to this mindset,
Mm-hmm.
are still indoctrinating, are still passing it on. But with the education we have, I believe that if God wants it like that, then God should have ensured that the very first child that will ever come, in a family should be a man. But it's not. He created us equally. Check our brain, check the man's brain. It's only when we subject ourselves to marriage institution that you can now say, okay, yes, you are the leader of the team. And it's just like saying the leader of the team. The bottom line here is, how are we raising our children?
Yeah.
Even if you are raised like that, with what you know, sit back and reflect. Is this right? There are some cultures that are good, there are some values that are good, but there
Yeah.
are some that we need to begin to reevaluate to say, really, does this make sense? You understand? Does this really make sense? I know by default. It happened to me some years ago. You know, we were talking about our father's estate and things like that.
Yeah.
And because this thing has been in me, you know, I have not, I have not, I have not dealt. Let me say, I've not dealt with it. The
Mm-hmm.
way I've processed it now. It just occurred to me that, oh, before we take a decision, I have to. We all have to wait for my junior brother because he's the first
Huh.
boy.
Wow.
You understand? I'm talking about maybe about 15 years ago. By default, just piam. And it was later when I was processing it, I said, oh no, that was not right. And thankfully, my brother said, oh no, we have our firstborn. It is what she says that we will follow. It was when that my light bulb just went off that, Bukola, what
Oh
is
my
this?
gosh. Yeah.
So I knew that those things have been in us, but we have not processed it. So
Mm.
we all have to process it. You understand? We all have to process it. There was a time that and I'll use this to stop. My daughter was already no. Someone we wanted to give some people a ride, home. And this boy had sat down. I mean, same age, had sat down by the door. So my daughter was coming, and I said, "Oh, get up, let my daughter enter and sit in the middle." And my daughter, being a lawyer, said, "Mommy, why? Is it because I'm a girl?" That triggered,
Ooh.
that triggered me of that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Apologize. Please, can you shift and let her come in? Why am I saying that these things have been in us? Is something that we see, we hear. So somehow unconsciously we have been taking it in. And when those things happen, it triggers us. So it is for each and every one of us to go and process it. process it and understand that, okay, this is it. So now it's easy for me because I've processed it. It's easy for me to say, no, it will not happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. Susan, maybe you too. That's what you take a leaf from Bookie's book and be like, I'm not gonna take it. No, I'm not accepting. Abi Susan, before we go.
It's the truth now for me. You should know, like, how, from where to where.
Where to where?
Ebola to Jasmine. Do you understand? And the truth is, it is because of the patriarchy that is enshrined in our system.
Yep.
What we over the years, it has a way of, the first time I saw a lady from Anambra or so, whose dad, shared his property because he has many children, shared his property to his children, I was shocked. Like, she's married, but she got a property in Lagos. I was like, how? Wow, I need to meet your dad.
Wow.
Because, he is someone who is going the other route. Like, I'm not saying, no.
Yes.
Each of my children must get something. So, what are these things that we are doing? And because we are resistant to change, for me, that is why so many people keep going the same route that did not add any value or even, improve the lives of their people. It's not about you alone.
Yes.
What of when you are not here? We keep saying it. You have to put things in place so that your loved ones will not jump from frying pan into fire when you are not here.
Yeah.
Happy weekend, beautiful people.
Yes. Final word to every single. I, as a boy mom, every day I'm telling myself, you have to do better. Like, I see Irano and I'm like, my child. In fact, when I'm I say you are a good boy. My in-laws were teasing me which day. I was like, but boy, if fine, Joe, my break. I said my son is not going to break at any heart in Jesus' name. Could I need your breakfast? Like, I'm backward dying because I believe that I have a responsibility toward my son for that. I also think that the young people these days are more vocal, like, because that I said, no, mommy, is it because I'm a girl? And they're the ones that would eventually change things. But also for us in our little corners, in our little spheres of influence, when you see wrong happening, please change it. When you speak, please speak to it. You never know, just a tiny word would change. And for men who are on the right path, please, we need your voices. I don't know how much to say this again. We need your voices to join our voices to be able to speak to ills done against women in our society. Yes, it's a patriarchal society. We know that, but we believe strongly that men can also be the one to change it from the society that we have right now. With that being said, thank you so much, ladies, for coming. Today was sort of like a difference from what we deviated a little bit from what we typically talk about, but it's still about men and women issues anyway. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a lovely weekend. See you next week, Monday, for another edition of HerLens on Women Radio 91.7. Up next is Radio Doctor. Don't go anywhere.
To sponsor this program, call the number